Welcome to part 2 of this mini-series. As we continue, while checking the list of players participating in the BOB finals, Kirito hypothesizes that Deathgun has been leveling his player since the last game. The player list provides no information about the identity of Deathgun, as no one is playing under that name. Kirito gets Sinon to clarify the finals rules in game. The top 30 players from the preliminaries will compete in a last man standing battle royale. Players would be sent to a 10-kilometer diameter island with different topography, 1,000 meters apart. Every 15 minutes, a satellite would reveal the locations of all surviving players, except those buried in water or using optical camouflage. Kirito discovers that Pale Rider, Musketeer X, and Sturban were first-time finalists in the tournament. Kirito assumes Deathgun is won. Kirito finally tells Sinon the explanation for his recent peculiar behavior. One of the people Sinon named was someone he knew from another game, who tried to murder him and that he tried to kill in return, as they had done unforgivable things, and that he must handle this problem with a sword. Sinon realizes Kirito is a Sword Art Online survivor. Sinon reminds Kirito that they have unfinished business before the final and that she expects him to survive. Kirito, on the other hand, is certain that he will be present in the finals, when all eyes in game will be on him. During the tournament, Sinon's scanner shows few players are near her position, including Dine and Pale Rider. She moves to a new sniping vantage point and runs into Kirito. Sinon observes Pale Rider at Kirito's request. Pale Rider uses acrobatics and light equipment to avoid Dine's gunfire and quickly defeats him. However, shortly after his victory, he is stunned by another player using a silenced weapon. The masked and cloaked player Kirito encountered earlier approaches Pale Rider. Kirito shouts at Sinon to take out Pale Rider as Deathgun approaches. Asuna and her allies in ALO are watching the Bullet of Bullets tournament's livestream. With Kirito missing, there is speculation as to what he is up to. Their attention is drawn to Pale Rider, who is stunned by a player wearing a mask and cloak after defeating an opponent. Sinon attempts to assassinate Deathgun, but he easily avoids her shot. Deathgun then draws his pistol, crosses his heart, and fires one shot at Pale Rider. Pale Rider recovers from his paralysis and attempts to shoot Deathgun, but he vanishes shortly afterwards. As a result, Deathgun claims another victim. Deathgun uses the livestream to introduce himself and his weapon to everyone watching. He concludes his monologue with the words "It's showtime." Klein recognizes it as a catchphrase used by Laughing Coffin's leader, Poe. Sinon uses the satellite to track Deathgun as he leaves the battlements, but he can't find his name. Kirito pursues, with Sinon close behind. Klein describes the assault team's combat with Laughing Coffin in ALO. As Lifa discovers why Kazuto is anxious, Asuna logs out of ALO to talk to Kikuoka and asks Yui to learn about GGO. Back in GGO, Kirito and Sinon devise a strategy. The next time the satellite reveals the player's location, they will go after Jushu X, whose name sounds similar to the Japanese kanji for Deathgun, making him the most likely suspect. They separated to cover more ground. Sinon is hit with a stunning bullet as she considers how easily she can assassinate Kirito without his knowledge. She is then approached by Deathgun, whose in-game name is Sturban. Sturban taunts Sinon by claiming he would kill her in order to enrage Kirito. Sturban draws his pistol as Sinon struggles against her paralysis to draw her sidearm. To Sinon's horror, the pistol is an exact replica of the gun used in her childhood post office robbery. Her will to fight fades as Sturban prepares to murder her. Deathgun is about to kill Sinon when he is forced to retreat by gunshots and a grenade. Sinon is lamenting how she wishes she could get strong by watching Kirito. Kirito tosses a smoke grenade, grabs Sinon and flees, despite Sinon's request that he abandon her. Deathgun pursues Kirito on a mechanical horse as he takes a buggy. Kirito orders Sinon to fire her sniper rifle, but Sinon is suffering from a PTSD-induced panic attack and is unable to pull the trigger. Kirito reaches behind her and guides her pull the trigger. While the bullet misses Sturban, it does strike a car's fuel tank, causing it to explode and allowing them to flee. Sinon learns that Kirito's strength is his drive to protect his comrades. They hide in a cave to avoid the satellite scan and Sturban's ambush. Kirito came to her help when he realized Jushu X was not Deathgun. She was a woman whose name was based on the Japanese term for musketeer. After consoling Sinon, Kirito decided to meet Sturban, terrified of him but determined to protect his loved ones in the actual and virtual worlds. Sinon swears to help Kirito after recognizing his strength. Kirito, on the other hand, refuses to let Sinon put herself in danger and die alone. Sinon breaks down and tells Kirito that people already see her as a murderer. After she has calmed down, Sinon tells Kirito about her day at the post office and how she can't bear looking at a gun in real life because she will see the face of the robber she killed. Also, when she saw Death Gun, she felt more like her terrified real-life self than her in-game character. To her surprise, Kirito also admits to killing people in the past. He and Sturban were survivors of SAO, and he vows to defeat Death Gun in this world after recounting the battle between the assault team and Laughing Coffin. Sinon asks Kirito how he overcame his murders. Kirito says he didn't overcome them, but accepted their weight. It was the least he could do to make amends. Following that, they debate who and what a Death Gun is. Death Gun killed people in the real world with a handgun, but he attacked Kirito with a sniper rifle. Kirito determined that Death Gun must prepare before killing. Also, Bullet of Bullets gamers enter real-world details to win prizes. Death Gun probably spied on his targets with optical concealment. Kirito believes Death Gun is not just one player, but numerous conspirators acting under a similar identity. One played the game as Sturban while others infiltrated the houses of the targeted targets to kill them in real life, most likely with a heart failure drug. The real-world conspirators watched Sturban's livestream and waited for a sign of the cross gesture before administering the lethal injection. If the victims lived alone and had obsolete electronic locks, they may be easily accessed. Sinon lived alone with no door chain. A killer may be at her apartment right now, ready to kill her. This realization causes a panic attack that nearly logs her out of Atmosphere, but Kirito calms her down. As long as Sturban doesn't shoot her, she's safe. Kikuoka logs in with the username Krishite in ALO. Asuna demands to know where Kirito is in the real world after Yui and Krishite explain the situation involving Death Gun. Kirito and Sinon prepare an attack in GGO. Kirito will distract Sturban while Sinon fires her weapon. Few participants remain in the event as cameras follow them. A confrontation is on the horizon. 24 of the tournament's 30 players have been eliminated. Only another player, Yamakaze, is visible on the satellite map. With the exception of Kirito, Sinon, Sturban, and the late Pale Rider, that leaves one player out. Sinon suggests using Yamakaze to lure Sturban out of her house because the killer is most likely already there. On the other hand, Kirito is concerned about the missing player. He suspects that there is another conspirator behind Death Gun, and that the missing player is yet another victim. Sturban and Yamakaze are drawn out, while Sinon takes up her sniping perch and dispatches them. Yamakaze tracks down Kirito and pursues him, but Kirito senses Sturban's murderous intent. He avoids Sturban's shot while Sinon dispatches Yamakaze. This deprives her of the element of surprise in her pursuit of Sturban. The two take aim at each other and fire. Sinon's scope is shattered by Sturban's shot, while Sinon destroys Sturban's rifle, forcing him into a close-range battle with Kirito using an estoc, the weapon of choice for a prominent Laughing Coffin member. In the real world, Asuna visits Kirito's hospital, where he plays GGO and track down Death Gun. Kirito is perspiring profusely and his heart rate is increasing. Yui explains that Kirito is currently engaged in combat with Sturban, as seen on the livestream. The name is known to Aki as the German word for death. Back in GGO, Kirito informs Sturban that he is aware of the truth behind Death Gun, and that if he discovers his true identity, he will be arrested. Sturban, on the other hand, knows that Kirito has no idea who he is. When Kirito captured the Laughing Coffin members after their battle with the assault team, he stated that he had no desire to know their names. Sturban gains the upper hand as Kirito's confidence wanes. As Sinon tries to help Kirito without her scope, Asuna and Aki worry about his heart rate, which could dehydrate him. Yui recommends Asuna let Kirito feel her hand. Kirito fights Sturban in GGO. Kirito notices that Sturban's mask hidden eyes are crimson. It reminded him of Laughing Coffin member Red-Eyed Sasa. Sturban's attack falters at the name. Sinon uses the opportunity to shoot at Sturban, forcing him to avoid her rifle's prediction line. Sturban activates his optical cloak trying to escape. Kirito reaches out to stop him, but when he feels the warmth from Asuna's hand, he pulls out his sidearm and shoots at Sturban, causing his cloak to malfunction. Kirito strikes Sturban with his photon sword for the final time. Sturban mocks Kirito for not having found his accomplices, but Kirito vows to find them. As the tournament's final two players, Kirito and Sinon exchange contact information, with Kirito promising to send police to Sinon's apartment to apprehend the death gun conspirator, as well as personally checking in on her. That only leaves the tournament. Kirito was low on HP after his fight with Sturban. Sinon promises to settle their feud at the next Bullet of Bullets tournament and activates a plasma grenade, tightly hugging Kirito and catching the grenade between their bodies. Its detonation destroys them both, bringing the tournament to a close with a two-way tie. Shino awakens at home. Kyoji, who came to congratulate her on winning the event, is waiting outside. Kyoji's behavior becomes weird as he tries to hug Shino while declaring his love. When Shino rejects him, he brandishes a syringe of succinylcholine. He was a death gun conspirator and killed Sexseed. He intended to kill Shino in order for them to be reborn in another world. As Shino succumbs to despair, she recalls Kirito on his way to her apartment. She fights back fiercely and runs for the door, terrified of what Kyoji might do. A young man bursts into the apartment and attacks Kyoji as he is about to kill her. Shino recognizes the young man right away as Kirito. Kirito and Kyoji are fighting in Shino's apartment. Shino knocks Kyoji out with her stereo as he hit Kirito with his poison-laced syringe. Fortunately, one of the hospital's EKG electrodes on Kirito's body protected him from the syringe. Shino expresses gratitude to Kirito for coming to her aid, but Kirito apologizes for taking so long that Kyoji nearly killed her. A few days later, Endo extorts Shino again, triggering her with a model gun. Endo's model gun won't fire properly. Shino regains her calm and shoots the revolver, shocking her. After school, Kazuto picks up Shino and takes her to see Kikuoka about Death Gun. Kyoji Shinkawa, his brother Shoichi, and Atsushi Kanemoto were behind Death Gun, according to an investigation Kikuoka performed following Bullet of Bullets. Shoichi and Kanemoto, aka Red-Eyed Sasa and Johnny Black, were SAO survivors and Laughing Coffin members. Kyoji and Shoichi were arrested, while Kanemoto escaped. Shoichi got a GGO optical veil, which started Death Gun. Shoichi told Kyoji Sexseed's address after hearing how he deceived him into developing an Unideal character. Shoichi would inject Sexseed's player with stolen succinylcholine after Kyoji shot at him in-game. They repeated the technique with another high-level player, then tried it during the BOB competition with 3 high-level players, killing Pale Rider and Garrett. With the third target being Sinon. Shoichi boasted about the lives he took in SAO after fleeing, winning his brother's respect. Both considered Death Gun a game. Kirito said virtual reality distorted the real world. Kikuoka questions Kazuto's realism. Shino refutes Kazuto's claim that he was still in virtual reality by saying he considered virtual worlds as real. Kikuoka tells Shino that the Shinkawa brothers are in a psychiatric hospital. Shino laments that Kyoji abandoned reality for GGO. Kazuto tells Kikuoka that Shoichi taunted him and said he couldn't stop him. Kazuto introduces Shino to Asuna and Lisbeth at A. Gill's cafe. After telling Asuna and Lisbeth about Shino's past, they track down Sachi Osawa, who was at the post office that day. Shino saved Sachi and her unborn daughter that day. Mizue, her baby, also thanked Shino. Kazuto brought them here so Shino might see how she helps others and forgive herself. Shino weeps as she finally casts off her previous crimes. If you loved this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on another one. Until next time.